Welcome, everybody, to our November 8th Forward Pinellas meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. For those of you who aren't aware, our illustrious chair, Commissioner Janet Long, is in London with our Tourist Development Council, working on tourism-related things, so I'll be chairing the meeting in her stead. So we will go to Councilor Burke, who will lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's pray. Divine Creator, we thank you for the gift of life and for giving us all this day. We ask that you bring peace to the world and assuage the suffering of those in need. Please watch over our county and cities and keep all of our residents safe from harm. Send your spirit to this meeting and help us make all decisions in the best interest of our communities. Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Burke. We appreciate that. All right, we'll allow our board members to introduce themselves. For the record, we will start with Councilor Buckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jared Buckman, City of Oldsmar, representing the cities of Oldsmar, Tarpon Springs, and Safety Harbor.
Good afternoon, Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council, representing PSTA.
David Will, Mayor, Reddington Beach, representing the beach communities.
Dave Eggers, Pinellas County Commissioner.
David Albritton, City of Clearwater Council and Treasurer of Fort Pinellas.
Good afternoon, I'm Whit Blanton, the Executive Director.
I'm Julie Ward-Bajalski, Mayor of the great city of Dunedin.
Brian Scott, Pinellas County Commission.
Chris Burke, City of Seminole, representing the inland communities.
Richie Floyd, council member for the City of St. Petersburg.
Eric Gerard, Commissioner, City of Largo.
Speaking of Eric Gerard, he is our newest member. I'm going to just jump ahead. I know I'm not going in order, but given the fact that he just spoke and introduced himself, I think we should honor the fact that he is our newest member from the City of Largo. I don't know if you want to share a few things about yourself and what you hope to get out of being on the board.
I'm looking forward very much to learning and participating for the benefit of the community. And the rest about myself, I think would be too embarrassing to say. So thank you.
Well, we're very happy to have you representing Largo. Thank you for being here. Okay, now is the time to have citizen input on any.
I've got, oh yeah, go ahead.
I just went back. I said I went out of order.
You threw me off.
I'm sorry. Now it's time for citizens to be heard. Anybody that wants to come forward and speak to any item that is not already on the agenda, please feel free to do so. Give us your name and address for the record, and be mindful of the 3-minute clock. Tina?
First up is David Ballard Geddes Jr.
Come on down, David. I feel like I see you every week now.
Good to see you.
David and I went to school together, so
We went to
he
elementary.
follows me wherever I go.
David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Published in 1972, Maloney's Water Code. This book serves as the foundation to the Resource Act of 1972. The Resource Act of 1972 serves as foundation of Chapter 373 of the Florida State Statutes, which bases the legal framework for the water district today. Chapter 1, Section 13 of Maloney's Water Code, in here it states that every person shall be subjected to an annual user surveillance fee for the use of water, and failing to pay such annual user surveillance fee shall constitute grounds to revoke a person's consumptive use permit, disallowing water to such persons. Maloney's Water Code, Chapter 5, Section 10 states that the powers of the Water Board shall have the right to enter our property, claiming eminent domain of our property in Chapter 1, Section 23 of Maloney's Water Code. Soldiering us in our homes, Pinellas County Reclaimed Water Resolution 95-286, Section 3K, makes reference to this water inspection of such to be done without notice, day or night, and we must submit to this inspection fee in order to maintain the privilege of having the opportunity to access the privilege of water. The Third Amendment states that no soldier shall be quartered in our home without the consent of the owner. Waylaying our consent, the Reclaimed Water Variance application was used to capture our consent under the Third Amendment, tricking us into forfeiting our property rights. In effect, this occupation has claimed eminent domain of our property again in Statute 15303, Section 5, taking all lands, all of our rights in Statute 170.03, claiming rights to take our liberty, property, and the life of us Christians as so-called due process under the 14th Amendment, to include our labor, enslaving us in Federalist Paper number 54, while so-called naturalizing water jurisdictions, calling us dogs in Federalist Paper 11. Abusive in nature, I find the current Constitution that we're in today. Hamilton's first Constitution is a medium. It is a Bill of Attainder. It is a letter of marque. It is a form of medieval reprisal, in my opinion. This is prohibited in Article 1, Section 9 and 10 of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Tina?
Next up is Sharon Calvert.
Welcome, Sharon.
Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Calvert, and I live in Tierra Verde. Regarding the cycle track, I wasn't able to make the meeting last month, but I did watch the video, the FDOT presentation regarding the cycle track that was implemented on the Bayway South in Tierra Verde. I will have to say, I think there was information that was missing in there, but the project showed one of the charts of what it looked like before. So I'm sure you saw all that. It was actually, that road was considered a scenic road, at least at one time. It then showed another picture of the current condition, and it showed this. But it looked like that was it, because it didn't show a picture down the road like it showed on the prior condition. So I know you can't see this, but there's at least 30 egress points marked just like this, all the way down the road if you took a picture of it. I know there were some comments regarding contact points, but it's not just an intersection. It's egress points and contact points, which is in the, I believe, the FDOT manual when they talk about bidirectional cycle tracks. which is a project name that we never heard of. The project was put under a resurfacing project. It never included exactly what it was doing. This is a public records request for a copy of communication from or to the PSTA board members and/or Whit Blanton that states this project is the cycle track. Because again, I had never heard of that term before, and that configuration was one that was put in downtown. It's an urban design, and it was put in downtown Tampa. And why it was put in a suburban island community, I think we're all questioning those residents who live on the island. The second item I'd like to, and before I go on that, we are continuing to work with FDUS. We appreciate the help and the consideration that they continue to work with us. But that project came through this board, and the pedestrian and cycle committee, citizen committee, never engaged us. So I don't know how these projects are getting vetted. Second is the 34th Street lane elimination for PSTA, for bus-only lanes like on Pasadena Avenue. Previously, the documentation showed that the Skyway Marina District supported it. No, they don't. Here's the letter dated 5/10/23. The Skyway Marina District does not support this project. And also, I understand the Alliance for Bayway Communities, which is the East-West Bayway, they also do not support that project. The people in Tierra Verde do not support the project. So the vetting of these projects need to be looked at, and I hope going forward they will be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Next, Tina?
We have Mike Eisner from the city of Tarpon Springs.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. First thing I wanted to do was just share with you my thanks for the prior vote to give us the confidence and to allow us to join your board when that time comes. So I did want to thank you for that in advance. As some of you may know, I also sit on the School Transportation Safety Committee, and I've devoted my retirement life to keeping kids alive. I remained alive myself, and I'd like to continue that with others. So I've asked on numerous occasions to have safety lights for the kids when they're waiting at school buses. And I've pretty much, I speak my mind, I got to run around. So I'd like to see how we can move forward and get safety lights where we would have like a solar light that lights up for the kids that they're waiting for the buses. I know there's 8,000 bus stops. I would like to see it at least put in as a start in some of the darkest locations, especially at this time of year where we have daylight savings time. There's no cost to spare when I have to sit in a meeting and see an uncle or a father talk about having their child hit by a car, and the person that did it never saw the kid. I didn't believe that it was a good idea to put flashing lights on their backpack if they're turned the wrong way. They're still going to be hit. So if we could possibly see to budgeting some money for that, for safety, I am all for it. And the second thing that I would like to speak about, I am a bicyclist. I'm on that trail very often. I noticed that we have flashing lights at some of the schools, but we don't have flashing lights between intersections that are hot ticket items. I think that we could easily convert some of these locations to having a motion sensor on it so that as the bicyclist approaches the intersection, the lights flash before they have to hit the button. What seems to happen is the normal bikers like myself that are not a professional biker, I'll stop, I'll push the button. But some of the professionals are just zipping through it, especially on Tarpon Avenue and the trail at 25 and 30 miles an hour, and I don't know how they don't get hit. But it's not an expensive thing, and it also will save lives. So that's another thing I'd like to see, that we can put some sort of a device on there to pick up, bicyclists going by. And I just want to thank you for your time. And if there's anything that you need from me, any input or any other than funds, I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Tina?
No, Madam Chair, that's all.
Okay, so on a couple of the issues that we heard through citizen input, there was discussion on the cycle track in Tierra Verde, whatever we're calling it, and the number of egress markings, and how that all came about. I mean, there was extensive public input, right? Can you just talk about that process?
I can speak a little bit about it. A lot of that came before I was even here.
Okay.
But we prioritized the project. This board did. It did go through our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board. It was an application that was submitted by both Pinellas County and the City of St. Petersburg for that trail, and FDOT worked with Tierra Verde to design the trail. We heard the public records request, so we'll look and see, but I'm not sure I have any public records related to that, but I'll certainly look and see, and we'll provide that.
Okay, and who was responsible for having public input out there? Was that us or FDOT or
Well,
the county?
FDOT was doing the construction.
The county represents Tierra Verde,
Right,
so
right, and they're represented on the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
they are.
The county is, yes.
Gotcha.
And we have countywide representation on that.
Okay,
But every construction project, there is public information.
sure.
Yeah, maybe speak just a little bit to the community or lack of community support for the 34th Street lane elimination. I think that's an important component.
Sure. The Skyway Marina District originally requested the transit lane for that 34th Street corridor. It was requested, I believe, in 2018 or 2019 by the Skyway Marina District Board. We also had a request from the City of St. Petersburg for that. We built it into the resurfacing project at the request of the city and coordinated with PSTA on that as well. Transportation projects take a while, and the board on the Skyway Marina District has turned over since then, and so their opinion may have changed. The project is under construction today, so that's what I've said to you all, is we need continuity of transportation decisions when we make it a priority and we advance it into the work program and it moves into the year 1, 2, or 3 of construction. It's really difficult to start moving projects in and out because, a new elected board changed. So we've had extensive correspondence with them. It is in the adopted master plan for the Skyway Marina District. So we followed the plan in implementing that project.
And just maybe also just speak to the public engagement part.
Sure, we we followed the state's process for lane elimination, which is an established statewide procedure that included a technical analysis to determine that it was justified. We did that analysis in coordination with the state and with the city and with the public. We had a public hearing, which is required as part of that process in 2019. We also have the data to show that the project was justified. It made sense. And it's paired with the modernization of the Interstate 275 corridor, where we have plans for significant additional capacity in the I-275 corridor, which is parallel to this section of roadway. So I feel like
Ma'am?
We had a-
Ma'am, this is our time to speak. You've had your moment up here, okay? I'm sure that Tina can get you any information you need, or you can communicate with Whit after the meeting. Okay? Thank you.
We had a public information meeting, and then every time we adopt our transportation improvement program, it is a public hearing here with this board, and we voted on that project 10 times, 8 times, I don't remember how many times, but it's been in the work program for years. Does that answer your question? Is there more?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I do think that these projects, we tend to go the official route sometimes, and having public I guess, interactions, if you will, with down in the community, I think sometimes makes a big difference. At least you hear more grassroots stuff. They don't come here. If you don't hear from somebody like Sharon or others, then we don't get negative feedback. And I think we need to do a better job of that kind of grassroots understanding. It's not the St. Pete Council, and it's not another board, or it's not this. It's really the hearing straight from people, because that's obviously ultimately who's affected. I appreciate hearing from the groups too, but I appreciate it.
Well, we did have significant numbers of one-on-one meetings. We met with Eckerd, we met with the Skyway Marina District representatives down there. I mean, I feel like we did our due diligence on this one.
Thank you.
Anything else on public comment?
Not on that particular thing, but
We are working with the Tarpon Springs representative to deliver, a straightforward approach for lighting around those bus stops. We think that's very important as well. And I think we're going to get something done. So I don't know if Chelsea's here to update us, but that is ongoing effort.
And then the mention of the trail crossing at Tarpon Ave.
We do have the automatic flashing beacons that are camera detected on the trail today in Clearwater. There's one location in Clearwater. We did have those installed in Dunedin on Skinner. The problem with high volume locations like that is those lights were always flashing at Skinner, and it led to people sort of disregarding them. The one down in Clearwater is south of downtown, and it's not as high a volume of a location. I think they work great, and I think if the city of Tarpon Springs wants us to look at installing one there, we'll work with our partners to see if we can do that. I think the automatic flashing beacons are good because he's right. A lot of cyclists don't want to stop. It's often hard to reach from your bicycle. You have to dismount and do that, and a lot of folks don't want to do that. It's just human nature. We find that there's a lot more compliance with pedestrians pushing those buttons than bicyclists, frankly.
So you'll work with Tarpon on
We'll
that?
work with Tarpon.
We'll take a look and see if that
certainly.
intersection warrants it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Whit. All right, now we have a committee service award, and I will turn that over to our executive director.
Yeah, I just want to say a few words. We've already recognized Commissioner Gerard, so welcome. But I also want to recognize Ron Wolfson, who is in the room, and I'll call Ron up in a moment. I just want to say a few things. He has been with the St. Pete Police Department for 32 years. He and his wife live near the Pinellas Trail and use the trail all the time.
Your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. He's been with the St. Pete Police Department for 32 years. He and his wife use the trail. They live near it. He joined the Pinellas Trail Security Task Force as a representative of the St. Pete Police Department 25 years ago when he was assigned to the Community Policing Department. He left community policing, and someone else was assigned to as the SPD representative, but then he returned to our task force 12 years ago when he began his current position as road patrol coordinator and was asked to represent SPD on the task force. He was elected chair 2 years later in 2013 and is now retiring from the St. Pete Police Department on December 13th, 2023. And so Ron has been the chair for 10 years of our Pinellas Trail Security Task Force and looks forward to getting more trail time upon retirement. Ron, do you want to come up and just say a word or two and just let the board acknowledge the good work you've done?
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure serving with the committee. I really enjoyed it and really enjoyed the trail and see all the great progress that has been made on the trail, and very proud to have been part of that, and thank you all for everything that you do and everything you continue to do for the Pinellas Trail, and looking forward to using it now and in my retirement. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a little something to remember us by.
Thank you. It says Pinellas Trail Security Task Force, Ron Wolfson, SPPD, 2013-2023.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Okay. Now we'll move on to consent agenda. We need to also note that there is a walk-on item. Did everybody get a copy or just me?
Yeah, everybody did.
Okay, there's a walk-on item for consent agenda, which is the approvals of consultant selection for requests for proposals on accounting services. Also on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes from October, approval of committee appointments, approval of 2024 board and committee meeting schedules, the acceptance of the Planners Advisory Committee roster, the countywide plan map annual update, the acceptance of Q4 financial report, and budget amendments, the approval of scope and fee for Advantage Pinellas financial resource projections, and the approval of scope and fee for the Gateway Commute Options Assessment and Employee-Employer Survey. Boy, that was a mouthful. Are there any items to be pulled? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Okay.
Madam
Sorry.
Chair, for the record, there are no citizens wishing to be heard on the consent agenda.
You didn't give me a chance to ask. Jeez Louise. Okay. Gotcha. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, now we'll move into public hearing. We have our Metropolitan Planning Organization public hearing items, which is a proposed amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 through 27-28 Transportation Improvement Program. What?
Yeah, we have Ariane Martins of our staff who will cover the proposed amendment and the next item as well.
Okay.
Good afternoon. So this tip amendment is from moving forward, is on I-275 from North 38th Avenue to North 4th Street. This amendment is to add design funds to add 2 new toll lanes in each direction. It would also include a multi-use trail along the Old Morton Road. The construction is scheduled to be in the summer of 2025, and this project will tie into the Gateway Expressway as well and the Howard Franklin Bridge project.
Okay, are there any questions for our staff team? Seeing or hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, we do have a citizen wishing to speak on this item.
I understand. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Any citizens to be heard?
We have Tristan Brockwell.
Hi, Tristan, welcome. Go right to the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Board, for hearing me. I rise in opposition to this movement for the proposed TIP amendment. At our Citizens Advisory Council Commission, I sit on the Ford Pinellas CAC Board. At our meeting, we heard from Ford Pinellas staff that this amendment to add these 2 toll lanes in each direction will result in there being no right-of-way left at all along that I-275 corridor. There will be no right-of-way left. That means that should light rail ever be passed in this county, there would be no room along that corridor for that. We know that I-275 along the Howard Franklin Bridge is being hardened for the addition of light rail. But expanding this corridor, passing this TIP amendment, will result in there being no right-of-way left in case that we ever decide in the future to use I-275 as a potential vessel, as a potential right-of-way for light rail. We're going to be eliminating that as a possibility. And further, I also rise in opposition to this TIP amendment just because on the grounds of expanding the interstate in that corridor, is going to push the interstate closer to those residents' homes who live on that I-275 corridor through St. Pete. We're going to be pushing those travel lanes closer to their homes. I know it doesn't require any acquisition of right-of-way, but we're going to be adding more noise pollution, more light pollution, more air pollution towards those residents' homes, and in exchange for that, we're going to be taking away the possibility of using light rail along that corridor. That, to me, doesn't make sense. I know we haven't done a real light rail study to say if 4th Street might be better, or a better light rail alternative coming off the Howard Franklin going into Tampa down into St. Pete. It may well be. But until I feel that we do that sort of study, until we actually look at the numbers, where would light rail work best to pass this TIP amendment today and to take away that right-of-way possibility? It just doesn't sit well with me, and I don't think it makes sense for planning for our future. I don't think that that's in the best interest of saying, hey, we need some time to make sure that by doing this, we're not going to eliminate a possibility. We're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot in the future. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak?
Madam Chair, Sharon Calvert is asking to address the board on this topic as well.
Okay. Come on down, Sharon. Yeah, I know. I'm going to turn to you after this. Welcome back, Sharon.
Thank you. My apologies for interrupting you, Whit, but I'd never heard the word public hearing. So regarding this amendment, I support it. Right now, the governor has a program for billions of dollars being used to expand our road capacity in the state of Florida because we are a highly growing, fast-growing state. This project is needed, and anything regarding a train or rail, that is in the future and may never happen, but putting off improving our roads and expanding the capacity is needed now. So I hope that you will support it and approve it, and again, I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Anyone else, Tina?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. Whit, so the CAC, did they give us an opinion, and can you speak to it?
I cannot speak to that. I don't know. Robert, can you come up and address the CAC action on that item? I believe it was a recommendation in favor.
I'm sure it was. I just want to know. I want to hear about it.
I was not at that meeting, unfortunately.
That's okay. Hi, welcome.
Hi. So at the Citizens Advisory Committee, the motion overall was that it passed. I know that
Is it a close
Kristen
vote?
was opposed. Do you remember if anyone else was opposed to it? There were a few. Thanks for reminding me that. So I remember there were some that, following his opposition, also ended up. There was a few others who were opposed to this as well. I don't remember exactly how many, but I do remember overall that it's highly unusual for there to be, that number of people opposed. And I don't think it was the TIP amendment itself. I think it was more sort of the issues that Tristan raised. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So with the toll lanes, can you talk about the project itself? When is it going to be? And also respond to, I'm assuming that if and when light rail would come, they would take the place of a toll lane.
Those are decisions to be worked out.
In the future.
Yeah.
But they could.
I'll tell you my thought process with that,
Sure.
which I think I shared with the board when we made the decision to make this a priority, which was probably in 2016 or 2017, if I remember right, is we've had a long-time priority for lane continuity and safety improvements on I-275. All the weaving and merging, you can't stay in one lane. If you're heading down to Bradenton, you have to weave and merge. It creates a safety problem. We also had a letter of support from the city, or request from the city of St. Petersburg, asking that the express lanes be brought all the way down to I-375. If we were going to come over into Pinellas, it didn't make sense to a lot of us to just stop those express lanes at Gandy or somewhere like that. So acting on the city of St. Petersburg's request, we identified a priority to bring the express lanes all the way down to 375 and asked FDOT to incorporate that into the design. We were very pleased to see the request or the budget initiative by the governor moving Florida forward to advance this project because it is a congested corridor, and the congestion really is worse, I think, from 38th Avenue to the north, and then it evens out once you get south of 38th Avenue. But this is an express lane. It'll be variable price toll lanes in some fashion. And the thought process at the time was bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. And, you know, we had just defeated a few years ago the referendum that would have advanced light rail here. There was no active proposal for light rail in that corridor. And frankly, interstate light rail is probably not the best technology in combination because it really is difficult to access the system when it's in an interstate corridor. So if we are successful at some point in having a light rail project or some type of rail project that comes over the Howard Franklin Bridge, and there is right-of-way being reserved for that, then I think at that time we would look at all types of alternatives, whether 4th Street or 34th Street or 16th Street, or the interstate itself could be one of those, would be evaluated at that time. But we don't have a project. We don't have a concept. Now, we are developing a transit system plan as part of this Advantage Pinellas Long-Range Transportation Plan, and that system plan is under development, and it will identify the types of technologies and modes that are appropriate for given corridors in Pinellas County. And I think when the board sees that, you can provide direction to us at that time, and we can then see if we can develop one of those into a concept or a project and advance it through the PD&E process. But we will certainly not be able to do that with the funding that we have currently for transportation. So that would require going back out to the public and identifying a funding source for that kind of project, and that's just not imminent. So we went with the most viable, feasible project that addresses a known issue currently.
And you're saying that this project has been on our list or been in our priority list, whatever list it's been on? There's so many, since like 16?
The lane continuity improvements have been an MPO priority since well before I got here, probably prior to 2010. The express lanes came later. That was part of the Tampa Bay Express. And I think that was around 2015, and when we got that request to bring that down to I-375.
Probably right after
Right
Green Light
after Green
Pinellas
Light,
failed.
yeah, right.
Right. So any thoughts from you as to why the Citizen Advisory Committee just now all of a sudden, so much later in the process, went into a different direction?
Well, I think there's always been different opinions about transportation in the community, and you know,
Sure.
it's.
I'm one of them.
I don't think anybody wants to. Well, I don't want to say anybody. I think there's a lot of people who want to keep all our options open.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand the concern.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to follow up on a couple of questions with that, Whit. So the bridge is being hardened for this to be a possibility in the future. That area of the bridge that's hardened, isn't that going to be part of an express lane?
Yes, and we have the Department of Transportation here who can answer if I get out of my depth, so I know you can. Yes, my understanding is that the new bridge that's being built will be hardened to support light rail technology. It's not being hardened to support commuter rail technology, which is the Brightline locomotive, for instance. So Brightline's going to come to Tampa, we believe, by 2030 maybe, and then we're going to need to figure out a way to connect with that. Initially, that'll probably be express bus, if anything, and then maybe eventually there'll be another type of connection that we desire to advance.
Yeah. So I mean, I asked the question like that to follow up on Mayor Bujalski's question, in that for there to be light rail, we're going to have to repurpose an express lane on the bridge, so it would be the same as off the bridge as well as. Oh, I see FDOT. All right. Well, I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I do think you're right, though.
Okay. Yeah.
A lane is a lane.
All
You can
right,
purpose
Justin
it
Hall,
to
FDOT.
anything.
So you're right and you're wrong. So you're right in the fact that where we're putting the express lanes now is where the light rail would sit in the future, and we're actually building the bridge to support the light rail. In the PD&E and the NEPA document, everything that we took to the public hearing, it said if light rail were to occur in the future, the 1990s bridge, we have to widen to handle those two express lanes. So yes, the rail would sit where the express lanes are going to sit now, because there's no point in widening both bridges or building a new bridge and widening the other bridge now. But in the future, if light rail were to come, we'd have to widen the 1990 bridge to add 2 lanes.
Okay.
And just so you know, the current plan for the light rail ends at Olmerton. That, the current existing plan, there's no plan that shows light rail extending further to the south of Olmerton. And to the gentleman's point, if we don't build the express lanes, no matter what we do, we'd have to buy right-of-way. Because the light rail footprint would require us to buy right-of-way. So whether we do it now or we do it in the future, and the big thing with the express lanes to understand is that's been a part of a plan for a long time. The light rail considerations, and one thing that Witt's referred to, any of the past plans that have been looked at, they don't generally use the interstate once they get on the other side of the bridge. There's a couple options. They've used Fourth, some have used Olmerton down. I mean, there's a bunch of different options, and they generally do not use the interstate when we get on that side of the bridge because it is disruptive to several communities.
Thank you for that. Could you just, so do you feel like this preempts any sort of light rail? It sounds like you've built that into the future in this plan as it is.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the entire Tampa Bay Next system, we've contemplated light rail, premium transit through the entire corridor, through the entire Tampa area. We've maintained a 44-foot envelope. The Howard Franklin Bridge, we built to support it. The West Shore Interchange is being built to support it. We've bought sites for future transit centers. So, I mean, we've kind of laid the groundwork for it, but the existing plan doesn't bring any train beyond Olmerton. There's nothing on the books. There hasn't even been a plan contemplated to bring it down interstate further. And one big thing, to his point, the majority of the widening is being done to the inside on the interstate. The reason why we would run out of right-of-way is because instead of using a closed drainage system, we're using an open system. So we'll have, ditch and swale instead of having closed pipe. In the future, when we redesign, you can close that up, put pipe. We've done that in other areas. In fact, we're doing that in Tampa. One thing that we are doing, if you look at the current plan, is with adding the express lanes, that actually now triggers the noise quality, and we have certain receptor counts. And so we're actually putting in noise walls now through the area where there are residential areas. So right now there's a lot of areas that they don't have a noise wall, but they will have a noise wall with this project.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. And then, Whit, you mentioned one other thing was just like that the express lanes will be used for transit now. So this is going to impact how transit's done in the corridor specifically. If you could speak to that a little.
Well, I say will, and that's probably with a little asterisk.
Okay.
That we've had conversations with PSTA about shifting the route that runs over the Gandy corridor to the Howard Franklin corridor once the bridge is open and the express lanes are operating, and letting transit take advantage of that expedited route into the Tampa International Airport area. So I think it's feasible. I don't think it would add a lot of more resources. It's basically shifting resources to another corridor. And we do have the PD&E underway for the Gandy Boulevard corridor. So, at some point we could look at a similar configuration for the Gandy corridor, but that's a little further off because that's just in the PD&E process.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just ask all of this because I would like to make sure we're not stopping us from being able to do anything in the future. And I've been in here before and complained a little bit about, road widening, but, with managed lanes and transit being a part of this and the lane continuity, I think that's super important. It doesn't feel safe right now. My concerns have been assuaged. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Anyone else? Brian, Commissioner Scott.
For DOT. Just a quick question. So the 1990 bridge, if that was to be widened, would that require replacing the bridge or can it be widened on this current platform? And
no, it can be widened as is, and because both structures were constructed in a manner to be able to be widened as they are. The oldest bridge, the one's being demolished, is really the only one that couldn't be widened and placed or maintained.
Got it. And when is the 1990 bridge due for replacement?
Well, if we go based on the same timeline, 2050 or 2055.
Got it. Okay. So a ways. All right.
Yeah. It's in good shape.
Don't go anywhere, just in case.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. I think we've received the information we need. Thank you for the input, but this has been in the works for a long time. So roll call vote, please, Tina.
Councilmember Buckman?
Yes.
Councilmember Driscoll?
Yes.
Mayor Will?
Yes.
Commissioner Eggers? Aye. Councilmember Albritton?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Councilmember Muhammad?
Aye.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Gerard? Yes. And Mayor Bujalski?
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll go to our second public hearing, which is, excuse me, the fall update of the fiscal year 2023 and 2024 to the 27-28 TIP.
So I'll be presenting the follow-up date of the Transportation Improvement Program. Every year for Pinellas is required by federal law to update the Transportation Improvement Program in order to receive federal and state funds for various transportation projects. Based on the long-range transportation plan and the priorities, the Florida Department of Transportation develops a draft of the tentative work program in the beginning of the year. Around April or so, FDOT work program is finalized, and in May or in June, along with the MPO priority list, the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, is adopted. But in October, we usually provide a follow-up date. Even though this follow-up date is not federally required, what is included is the PSCA work program, the local government work program of various local governments around the county, and the Pinellas County Capital Improvement Program, which will be the main highlight of this presentation. In your packet, you can find the maps, the summary tables that have the project number, the location, the project description, and the status of each of these projects. You can also find pages of these projects that have budget details and images of each of these projects. For Pinellas also provides a link of the Pinellas County Capital Improvement Program Projects Viewer on our website. For the project highlights, right now in this part of the presentation, I'm going to give the Pinellas County Capital Improvement Program project, transportation projects, the main highlights. So first, for a quick summary, 9 new projects were added into the CIP. 16 projects were completed and removed from the summary tables. 8 projects have remained the same so far, and 38 projects have changed. Either they changed in status from design to construction, or they deferred a year. For the bridge projects, the main highlights are the St. Martin Boulevard over the Riviera Bay. Design is currently underway, and construction is scheduled to be in 2026. Beckett Bridge, the construction is scheduled to be in 2024. The Nitten Causeway Bridge project, it's currently in design, but the construction is scheduled to be in 2026. For the sidewalk and bike projects, the main highlights are the sidewalk improvement projects, 71st Street North from 38th Avenue to 54th Avenue North. The design is currently underway for this project, and it's scheduled to be in construction in 2025. The Pinellas Trail Loop South Gap from 126th Avenue to Ultimate Turn is currently in design and is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. The Pinellas Trail Loop Phase 5, St. Martin Boulevard from Macoma Drive to Gandhi Boulevard. This is to design a trail. The design process will include determining the best location as well as determining the best connections for the existing trails, and is scheduled to be in design in 2024. The Joe's Creek Trail and Stormwater Management, the design is currently underway and is scheduled to be in construction in 2026. More sidewalk and bike projects, Pinellas Trail North Cap from Temple Road to East Lake Road. is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. The Pinellas Trail South Cap from Ultimate Road to Haynes Bayshore, it's currently in design and it's scheduled to be in construction in 2026. The McKay Creek Green Rail Trail is currently in design and is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. For the roadway projects, the guardrail along Keystone Road from East Lake Road to Hillsborough County line is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. The Forest Lakes Boulevard Phase 3 from Tampa Road to State Road 580 is currently in design and it's scheduled to be in construction 2027. The roadway improvement project, 62nd Avenue North from 49th Street to 34th Street North, is currently in design and is scheduled to be in construction in 2028. The Starkey Road from Plymville to Bryan Dairy Road is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. Moving forward, the Highland Avenue from Billard Road to East Bay Drive is currently in design and is scheduled to be in construction in 2026. Nebraska Avenue from Alt US 19 to Westlake Road is currently in design and is scheduled to be in construction in 2024. The Eastlake Road from Temple Road to Trinity Boulevard is in project development and environment study. It's scheduled to be in 2024. West Bay Complete Street from Bel Air Bridge to Clearwater Largo Road is currently in design and the construction is scheduled to be in 2026. And finally, 126th Avenue North from 34th Street to US 19 is currently in project development and environment study. For the ATMS and /ITS and intersection projects, both of these projects are in intersection improvements. Belcher Road from State Road 60 at State Road 60, it's currently in preliminary design and the construction is scheduled to be in 2028. And Whitney Road at Wolford Road is currently to be in construction in 2024. So the next steps for this meeting is to approve the follow-up date of the Transportation Improvement Program. If this is approved, the Pinellas County Capital Improvement Program, as well as local work programs, will be incorporated into the current TIP. I can answer any questions regarding the Transportation Improvement Program process, but any questions regarding the project itself, I have Mona Gabriel from Pinellas County Public Works here to answer a couple of questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll start on this side of the room. I know we have questions. Eric, any comments on your Largos projects? That's probably good for you, right?
I have a couple questions here. Although it didn't come up here, but there's the sidewalk construction from Kent Drive to 8th Avenue Southwest scheduled for 2024 and 2025. Is that locked in, or is that going to get bumped again?
I think that's a question for your city.
I'll defer those to the county. Can you
It's
please?
County Road.
Or is it County Road? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's County Road.
Yeah, maybe Mona can.
Good afternoon, Mona Gabriel, Pinellas County Public Works Capital Improvements Division.
Welcome.
Can you repeat what projects you're referring to, please?
Sidewalk construction on Indian Rocks Road from Kent Drive to 8th Avenue Southwest.
We are in the final stages of completing the design for this project, and next step, it will move to construction.
So construction is scheduled for 2024. That is still scheduled, and it'll start in 2024.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you. One more question.
Sure.
Highland Avenue improvement from Bel Air Road to East Bay Drive. as I was reading it, there's a discussion of constructing mast arms, I suppose would be at Rosary Road, if I'm not mistaken. Is that locked in, or can alternatives be considered? Such as roundabout in place of mast arms?
I will have to get back to you on that. I'm not aware that it's locked in. So if you would like, we can circle back with you on that.
Thank you. During a city commission discussion of Rosary Road improvements that are, underway right now, there was discussion as to whether, when the county gets to work on that we might be able to cooperate on an alternative to the mast arms.
Okay. Can we get back to you on that?
I would appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you'll let the city of Largo know the answers to those questions when you
Yes,
get
ma'am.
them? Okay.
Yes.
Anything else, Eric?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on this side of the room have any questions on the plan? This side of the room, I know you do, because you got the same one I do. Go ahead.
Just a couple things, and FDOT and Mona, just real quickly. First of all, East Lake Road, PD&E only for to 2026, was it? I just want to make sure that PD&E will bring forward alternatives and not definitive.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, important. And where do we get the funding for the Dunedin Causeway?
The Dunedin Causeway, we currently have penny allocations to this project, but we also are pursuing some some grants funding. We're keeping an eye out on what comes out of the federal funding opportunities, and we're submitting applications for those. So we still have some funding to be determined, but they are planned to be federal funding.
Okay, so still a work.
Yes,
still
sir.
a work in progress.
That's correct.
And then FDOT, whoever might answer the question, just a couple, not a big deal.
Depending on the question, I'm the right person to answer.
Oh, these should be pretty straightforward. 580, as it goes towards 19, it's not a project, but I have mentioned before, so I just need you to tell me that it's totally impossible to do, or that it is possible, and that is on the, as you leave Belcher heading east towards 19, in the morning, rush hour traffic, it is backed up almost to Belcher Road. Is there any way that you can dedicate that right lane during certain hours as right turn only, so that we can get people moving onto 19 and get them out of there? Because it really does back up, I won't say every time to Belcher, but, and then people trying to get over, it's a mess.
We can.
I've asked this question over and over and over again, Dave. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, we have no right turn lane.
Microphone's a little closer.
There's one car worth of right turn lane.
Yeah, we can look at that. I'm not familiar with the right-of-way in that area to be able to say
There is
for
not
sure.
much.
Okay, so we can look into that. I mean, there's other options we can look into too, but I mean, we can look into that.
Okay.
I don't know what the right-of-way requirements will be, or what's in the way there, or whether it's just, if it's an easy acquisition to extend.
It's not.
Probably right away would be a difficulty. I was just trying to, not repurpose, but temporarily repurpose a right lane during certain hours. I mean, it just makes total sense.
I think it should be right turn all the time.
But anyway.
I mean, there's options. I mean, I'm not familiar enough with the traffic pattern there to say whether we could or could not do that, but I can tell you we've looked at that in other areas. Look at time of day, things of that nature. So, I mean, it's possible. I don't know without analyzing it.
Then there's two other ones, simple. 118th, when's that going to be finished?
Do we have a construction complete? That's part of the Gateway project, right? Yeah. I think we're saying, early next year is the goal. Unfortunately for that project, we would have hoped it would have been done a few months ago, but due to material issues. But I believe the target now is early spring next year.
Okay. And I just wanted to commend the department on the partnerships that we have. And recently, I wanted to also say thank you for helping provide an alternative for a utility company product for US 19 projects that are going on, and finding a location other than a residential neighborhood. We're not there yet, but you all have done your part of it, and I just wanted to say thank you, and we're working with the utility company to get them out of the residential neighborhood, so thank you.
We always appreciate working with the county, so.
And
If
that's
I
all
could add in real quick.
Yep, please.
Just on State Road 580, we do have a corridor study that's being wrapped up that will be finished in early to mid next year. And that has looked at that intersection to see what could be done there. So we're waiting on those results from the PD&E study or corridor study.
But without right-of-way, that alternative use.
You don't have any right-of-way there to extend it, so it would be a matter of converting it to a right turn only or something like that.
Which we can talk about that, but there's analysis that goes into that, and we just, it's a scenario.
Oh, but I think that during that study, they probably would have already looked into some of this.
I think they've looked at it, yeah.
I think some of that work's already been done because it's been a long time.
Mayor, you
complaint.
you know for sure I flagged that issue for them.
Yeah, because I've been bugging you about it for years.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Anybody else on this side have any comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, guys.
I just had one more comment.
Oh, go ahead.
No, not with that. No, you guys could. Thank you, Mona. Appreciate it. There have been some comments made about trail safety, and in the city that I live, which is Dunedin, we continually talk about expanding golf cart access, which trail access expansion's great and golf cart expansion's great. But I think sometimes we get out ahead of ourselves, and I just think we need to, as we continue to expand what our residents want, and they do want trails and they do want golf cart access, we have to really make sure that the safety part of it keeps up, because it's lagging. It's not keeping up. I mean, we don't have. I mean, I would love to, stop bikers and give them a Baskin and Robbins ice cream ticket for every time that they ran a stop sign. No, they would do that all the time anyway. Something, but we've got safety issues on the trail that are huge. And to the comments that were made about some intersections, there are accidents. I've seen them, bikes getting hit by cars, and both times it was the bike's fault for not stopping. They just flew right through the street, and the car's probably it's dead stopped, ready to move forward, and they just assumed at the golf they're going to stop. But I think that obviously golf cart expansion is a whole nother thing not to be discussed here. But that again, we're doing great things, but we're not watching the safety part of it. So just got to make sure that we keep that focus, especially on the trails.
Yeah. Well, I will say that we are, I think, watching the safety part of it. We have worked with law enforcement, and in February we will have high visibility enforcement on the trail that will be planned, that will be coordinated with Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement agencies. So that's going to happen.
I certainly hope that the motivation is for awareness and education and not ticketing. Because I think stopping bikers is enough of a, if they're flying down, you stop them because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's enough of an annoyance, probably. Yeah. I don't want to get this into a big ticketing frenzy, because we could probably pay the national debt off with all of, and I'm not talking about just bicycles, but me too, breaking rules on the trail that you don't even realize. So, but I do think it's awareness, education, and just.
Yep. And Commissioner Scott's brought up the issue to me as well. So it's high visibility enforcement that's primarily aimed at education and reminding people and awareness, and we'll ticket if necessary. But that's the second choice. The first choice is just reminder. And it's not targeting bicycles and pedestrians only, so it's looking at anybody who's violating in there. And then we've had other conversations with county and other folks that, some of the stop signs on the trail, if nobody is ever stopping at those stop signs and it's a four-way stop, do we really need the stop sign? So we're going to look at that as well.
You mean the trail stop?
On the trail stop.
Oh. Yeah, one of them we got to keep.
One of them we've got to keep, for sure. But it doesn't make sense to me if the trail is truly a superhighway of 75-mile loop around the county that at every cross street in some of our jurisdictions, you're stopping the trail user and you're stopping the cars crossing.
Well, consistency would be helpful too,
Right.
right? I mean, so that it's
Consistency would
not-
be helpful.
Yeah,
And
different.
we've typically deferred to the local government law preference when it goes through a city. And that doesn't help continuity. So we'll have those conversations. There's nothing set in stone on that. It's just something we've committed to looking at.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I hope we really do get construction on that Causeway Bridge in 2026. I got my fingers crossed on that one, because I do know that the construction there will lead to a number of other things. There will be undergrounding that's supposed to go along with that. And if you don't know about it, you better find out, because we've been committed by the county to do that. And then we're going to be looking for beach renourishment. So I got fingers crossed on that one. That's it. All right. I need to do, yeah, I know, I don't even have a, I do not even have a motion, but we'll go ahead and do citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens to be heard on this plan?
No, Madam Chair, there are not.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the fall update? Okay, Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Eggers. Any final comments from anyone? Roll call vote, please, Tina.
Councilmember Buckman,
Yes.
Councilmember Driscoll,
Yes.
Mayor Will,
Yes.
Commissioner Eggers. Yes. Councilmember Albritton.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Councilmember Mohammed. Yes. Councilor Burke,
Yes?
Councilmember Floyd. Yes. Commissioner Gerard. Yes. And Mayor Bujowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, guys. All right, we will now move into the PPC public hearings, which will be conducted as follows. I will first ask for Pinellas staff to present the items. Applicant and local governments are available for questions as needed. Once each presentation is given, I will then ask for proponents and opponents, and finally, any other citizens that wish to comment or ask questions on the case. We will then hear rebuttal by the applicant as necessary and a staff response or summary. At that time, the board will ask questions, and then I will close the public hearing, and the board will deliberate and take action. So our first case is City of St. Petersburg, case DA 23-01.
Yes, first and only case today. It is a development agreement modification from City of St. Pete. So this is in reference to a 17.91 acre property at the northwest corner of Gandy Boulevard and I-275. The existing and proposed countywide plan map category is Activity Center and Target Employment Center. The applicant is requesting a First Amendment to an existing development agreement, so the countywide plan map category will be remaining the same, would not be changing at this time. Existing use is vacant and currently under construction, and the proposed uses is multifamily housing and industrial. There is a location map for reference, as well as a jurisdictional map showing it is within the City of St. Petersburg limits. Surrounding uses, we have multifamily to the west and industrial, and then also to the south we have industrial, as well as Sawgrass Lake Park is to the south as well. It's another aerial site view, as well as a front of the subject property view showing the current construction. And then we did find another aerial just showing the overall construction that's taking place and how it is mass graded at this time. So the background, as mentioned, the countywide plan map category is Activity Center, and this serves as an overlay on the city's local future land use maps. And in August of 2021, the underlying local category was requested to be amended from Industrial Limited to Planned Redevelopment Commercial, and Industrial Limited corresponds to employment on the countywide plan map, so it was reviewed through the countywide public hearing process. In November of 2021, Fort Pinellas Board recommended approval. In December of 2021, Countywide Planning Authority gave approval with an associated development agreement. So the current request, the developer requested a modification to the previously approved development agreement, and due to the significant changes of the request, staff determined that this amendment needed to be reconsidered. So it has been resubmitted, and it is now going through the countywide public hearing process. So the current development agreement. The development agreement currently requires the completion of 200,000 square feet of industrial uses to be completed no later than the first certificate of occupancy for the multifamily dwellings. However, due to subsurface soil conditions that were not anticipated, the third industrial building is now delayed. It's currently estimated to be completed in late 2024 to early 2025. And the multifamily portion is expected to be completed by the end of 2023. So as the development agreement stands now, this would result in these multifamily dwellings having to sit vacant until the completion of the third industrial building. So the amended development agreement includes the following requests. The first is to reduce the industrial square footage required to be completed prior to the CO of the multifamily dwellings to 143,000 square feet from the 200,000. And then to require an additional 147,000 square feet of industrial uses to be delivered by February 28th of 2025. The proposed modification will allow the developer to address the adverse subsurface soil conditions that were encountered that has led to these completion delays, and it will also result in a 45% increase in the total amount of industrial uses required to be completed by the developer. We did include a site plan that just shows the multifamily that is pending completion, as well as the industrial buildings on site and their location. So overall, the applicant is requesting this modification to change the timing of delivery of the industrial uses in order to address the subsurface soil conditions. And in exchange, the amended agreement is requiring a 45% increase in the overall required industrial square footage to be built. And the proposed amendment either does not involve or will not significantly impact the remaining countywide considerations. So staff finds the proposed amendment consistent, and we would recommend approval.
Thank you very much. Tina, I'm going to go out a little out of order because I see there's questions. Questions, Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, just want to make sure I'm clear. They're asking to be able to, a timing change that will allow them to clean up, but not wait for occupancy of some of the residential.
Yes.
And so the amended agreement is requiring a 45% increase in overall industrial square footage. I'm not sure. So could you go back to that? So because we're allowing that to happen, they're adding more industrial?
Yes, so originally, the original development agreement required 200,000 square feet, and this request maybe is requesting to go from 200,000 to 143, so that's part one of the request, and then to require an additional 147,000, which results in 290,000, which is the 45% increase. So basically, it would go from 200,000 to 290 overall.
Okay.
You okay? Any other questions on this side of the room? Any questions over here? Okay, so now it's time for our citizens to be heard. Are there any proponents to speak to this item?
Madam Chair, there are no proponents, opponents, or other citizens to be heard on this item.
Okay, so we'll come back to the board. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Okay, Commissioner Scott and Floyd. Any final comments on this item? Any follow-up with? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to go to presentations and/or action items. Our first presentation is the PSTA activities report. Gina.
Thank you. The PSTA board met last on October 25th, 2023. At the beginning of the meeting, we received a presentation celebrating PSTA for being named the most outstanding agency of the year by both the American and Florida Public Transportation Associations. I had the honor of joining the team in Orlando for that conference to help accept the award, and really enjoyed seeing that team get recognized. Many other awards were received by PSTA that were highlighted, including the Bus Operator of the Year and Maintenance Technician of the Year awards. The staff who recently completed industry leadership programs were also recognized. And since this is a national association, to receive that honor was very special for the team. A presentation was given on transit-oriented development around the Sunrunner, and that was provided by Anthony Close of St. Pete Rising. Since construction started, more than 75 development projects have been tracked in the corridor, ranging from infill townhome developments to large mixed-use towers with uses ranging from residential to medical office facilities. The development value for that area is estimated at $7.5 billion. The board also received presentations on the community bus plan, including information on an upcoming board workshop in January, and on the community sentiment survey of non-riders, which showed increased familiarity with PSTA programs, services, and amenities. The next PSTA board meeting will be held on December 6th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Thank you.
So let's give PSTA a big round of applause for those awards. They are a partner of ours, and we're very proud of all the hard work that you guys have been doing over there. Thank you. Any questions for Gina on anything that's going on at PSTA? Okay, we'll move on to the regional activities report. Whit, anything you want to share?
I do. I just have one thing I'd like to share, and that's on the regional MPO report that we're submitting by the end of this year. I wanted to let everybody know that we have drafted that report. It is under final review. I guess what I'm doing after this meeting. The Hillsborough MPO or TPO has scheduled a special meeting on December 17th, or not December 17th, I think it's November 17th, to consider this report and review the report. And so we're going to be getting a cleaned up copy to them so that they have that available. I did not have a completed draft in time for our board meeting to go out, but I also didn't feel like I really needed to bring it to you all because the substance of it is the memorandum of understanding, which you've already seen, you've already voted on, yes. And there's nothing really new in there. What I will share with you, though, is that in the report, we have been asked to identify the feasibility of forming a regional MPO, the cost, the benefits, and a potential timeline for doing that. And a lot of that's in the MOU. However, the costs aren't. And one of the things that we've been doing in coordination with our partners in Hillsborough and Pasco is developing a broad outline of potential costs for regional MPO. And I'll repeat kind of what I told the joint Board of County Commissioners meeting, what was last Friday in Tampa, which I thought was a very good discussion, by the way, between Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas Board of County Commissioners, is that the costs are really kind of broken into two main components. One is startup costs to stand up this organization, produce the documents that are needed in order to be certified as an MPO and receive federal funding. The other piece of it is just the organization of how the board is constituted, how the staff is structured, all the policies and procedures that go into place to creating a new organization. And then the other main component of cost is the ongoing operating cost of an organization. As far as ongoing operating costs, we think those will be pretty similar to what we have now with the 3 separate MPOs. We're actually essentially streamlining the MPO function into one single organization. It'll be a lot of the same staff. We think we'll still need staff embedded in Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Pasco County to be aligned with an agency like the Pinellas Planning Council or Pasco County government to carry out a lot of those local technical assistance and safety and bicycle pedestrian projects, because that really, and meet with the public, because that really needs to happen at that local level rather than off, somewhere out by the airport or in Tampa. As far as startup costs go, I wanted the board to be aware that we are looking at about a $500,000 initial request for a management consultant who would come in and help us with the policies, procedure, and structure and work through some of the issues that are outlined in the MOU in terms of governance, board constitution, things like that. That we would like to make as a legislative request in this upcoming legislative session. So we need to kind of get moving on that. So we are planning to be at the November 29th Bay Area, the November 29th Pinellas Legislative Delegation meeting. And then on December 1st, there is a Bay Area Legislative Delegation meeting, and we'll put in those requests. I think there's a form we've got to submit for that. We certainly can work with the Florida Department of Transportation if they have those funds available, but I think this is a direction from the legislature, so we probably need to look at the legislature first. What I told the joint boards of county commissioners last Friday was that there's going to be significant outreach for this, and we need to engage the business community. We need to engage community, local governments, and community representatives who are used to the way the MPOs operate today and feel comfortable with that level of trust and that level of accountability that they have at their county-based MPO. So we're going to submit this report by the end of December, and then we're going to see what feedback we get from the legislature, from others. It'll be a public document at that point. That's when I think we should go around and start meeting with our local governments, explaining what's in the report, what's in the MOU, and taking that input and that feedback. For the most part, in year 2024, we're going to be working on adopting our long-range transportation plans and not going to be working. So the money that we're asking as startup would be towards the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025. So it's in this next budget season. And we would get started in early 2025 on having that consultant help us work through those issues of board structure and staffing and things like that. Once we get through that quick process, we think that could probably take 3 or 4 or 5 months. That's when we would go to the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County and Pinellas County and Pasco County and city of St. Pete even, and getting an affirmative vote or of support to move forward, because we wouldn't have expended that much effort at that point. And I think, Commissioner Eggers, you made this very clear at the TMA meeting that we don't want to spend a lot of time and effort only be told no by the city of Tampa, somewhere down the line. So we see that happening sometime in early to mid 2025 in getting that direction. Then phase 2 of our startup costs would be to bring aboard some planning consultants to help us pull those final documents over the finish line that are required for federal MPO certification. That would happen generally in the latter part of 2025 and early 26. And then we would be ready to begin operating as a regional MPO potentially in the summer of 26, or more likely the summer of 27, because that's the new start of a 2-year unified planning work program cycle. So I wanted to lay that timeline out for you to mainly convey that this is not a flip of a switch. It's going to take a little bit of effort, and then we have the legislative request that we're putting into that report. And I wanted to find out from you if you had any concerns or heartburn about the legislative request or not seeing the report in advance of us submitting it by the end of December. And if you would like to see the report, I have no problem with sharing it with you individually, but we don't have another board meeting in December, and I don't think this really rises to the level of having a special Ford Pinellas board meeting. But I'd like to get some direction from the board and just make sure you're comfortable with the process I've outlined, and if you have any questions.
Anybody on this side?
As long as that report's available to us individually, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
You guys, consensus? Any questions? This side? Everybody okay? Yes, ma'am. Gina?
Thank you, and thank you for that update. Does that mean, so are all three counties going to, are we all looking at 500,000 each?
No, it's total 500.
Okay, so the ask will come from all three counties?
Yes, it will. All three MPOs, probably.
Okay. And you haven't had any conversations yet with any legislators?
I've given them a little heads up, but it's been general because I didn't have that number. So we've kind of worked through and backed into that number.
Yeah.
It's a larger initial startup request. That's the first phase of it. But I don't think we should go beyond that first phase if we find that we don't have consensus to move forward, because that's going to answer a lot of the questions that are giving maybe some of our local governments a little bit of heartburn about the merger. And I think, having a facilitator and a management consultant who can help work through some of those issues will help temper some of those concerns.
Yes, I agree. From being in those meetings, I know that we do still have some work to do, but you made my day because I was thinking it was 1.5 million, and it's actually just 500,000. So I think that's a worthy ask, and I fully support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I think you've got your consensus direction to move forward with that.
Okay.
And anybody that wants to provide that,
Yep.
or wants to have that report provided, they can seek out WIT. Anything else on our regional basis? Do you know when does our apportionment plan, you want to give us a status update on that?
Yeah, I got a little bit of insight from the Florida Department of Transportation last week. So they are reviewing the apportionment plans. I think District 7 has already reviewed what we submitted. And then now Central Office is reviewing it in Tallahassee. And they are waiting to get all of the apportionment plans from all 27 MPOs. And when they get all 27, they are going to turn them over to the governor's office for approval at that time. So they're thinking, it could be earlier, but they're thinking that that would probably happen in January, although it could happen earlier. The due date for the apportionment plans isn't until mid-November, so I think it's another week or so away. We just got ours in early. We like to be early. And then that'll happen in the first part of the year, and we have no timeline for the governor's approval, but they were telling us probably spring. And then it's going to take us probably 2 months at best to get the interlocal agreements approved by all 25 local governments here in Pinellas County. It might take 4 months, but we're going to work really hard to get it done in 2 months. So my best guess is they would seat the new board. Commissioner Eisner, are you here?
Yep.
Seat the new board probably in July, June or July.
Well, and hopefully all of us can help with getting those things done, at least in our own cities and the new member people.
We will need help, and I think they can
you know,
go on consent.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we can shepherd it through, and then anybody else can just go visit their council. Okay. All right, that was regional activities. Now we have the countywide trends and conditions report.
We have Rob Feigl of our staff who's going to present this.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report serves as a tool to evaluate progress toward achieving the goals, objectives, and policies in the long-range transportation plan, Advantage Pinellas. It also helps to identify safety concerns, traffic congestion, transportation infrastructure, crash data, also take into consideration things like land use and employment. The report informs safety studies, the design of projects, and assists law enforcement with safety-related activities. Ford Pinellas produces a number of more detailed studies throughout the year, but this one looks more at the big picture, at the countywide level, and at 5-year trends. The report's updated annually to provide a high-level snapshot of key trends throughout Pinellas County. And I'll touch on it toward the end of the presentation, but more detailed information, especially with regard to crash data, is available for each local government. We'd have less we'd have less traffic congestion if more people used other means of transportation or worked from home. And with 53% of residents living less than 10 miles from their workplace, bicycling or even walking is an option for more than half of our residents. Pinellas County's continued to make really great progress toward the bicycle pedestrian infrastructure. So the Pinellas Trail Loop is now 89% completed. That is up from 84% last year and up from 80% the year before. So that's quite a bit of progress just within a couple of years. So today, more than a third of jobs and households are within a half a mile of a trail, making it easier and safer to bike or walk to work as an alternative to single occupancy vehicles. This is a positive trend that indicates more households have access to multimodal options, including walking and biking. And many residents, nearly 13%, are now working from home, and with about 28% with having some sort of hybrid work model. Traffic counts for monitored roads are back to pre-pandemic levels. The dip that you see toward the end of this graphic is showing the year for 2020. One benefit to having more roads, more cars on the road, is reduced speeds, which is safer for vulnerable road users. The orange on this graphic indicates the percentage of vulnerable road users or pedestrians involved in fatal crashes depending on speed. The higher the speed, the more fatal crashes there are. On the bottom row, there's a person who's hit by a vehicle traveling 40 miles an hour has an 80% chance of dying compared to only 10% chance if they were hit by a car traveling at only 20 miles per hour. Although on average, the total number of crashes have decreased 3.4% and injuries are down 8%, the number of fatalities have increased 0.8% over the 5-year average. Most traffic fatalities involve vulnerable road users, which are motorcyclists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. Crash fatalities for vulnerable users have increased overall, especially for bicyclists. The usual suspects continue to be involved in fatal crashes. Impairment, aggressive driving, and aging drivers each account for about a third of fatal crashes. Fatal crashes for each category are down on average for the 5-year trend, except for aging drivers, which is up 6%.
What do you define as aging? Just curious.
65 years or older.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm an
didn't
aging
know
driver.
So no one here.
But I'm not that aging. You are.
I am.
So the crash data is mostly for a 5-year period from 2018 to 2022. So we usually like to take a look at how, since we're well into 2023, how are we doing so far in 2023? And since we do track that annually, we can take a look at how we're doing as of October last year compared to October this year. So this is not a 5-year trend, just how we're doing so far this year. So compared to this time last year, fatal crashes involving vulnerable users are all down with the exception of pedestrian fatalities, which is up 11%. So a little bit of bonus material. I mentioned earlier that we do have some really good information that's available to all of our local governments regarding the more detailed crash data. I've attached an example to this agenda item of the type of annual crash reports that are available for local governments. And this particular one is the 2022 crash data for the city of Dunedin. It's an example of the type of information in crash reports that can be available to local governments for any of our 25 local governments. So if you're interested in that, just let me know.
So tell us what that says. Like what is it meant to say?
And so this is just one of the graphs from many of that report, and just as an example of the type of data that's in there, it says that at least in 2022, in the city of Dunedin, you're most likely to have a crash at about 2 o'clock on a Friday in June with clear weather conditions during the day, most likely involving non-severe injuries. And then crashes are most likely to be angle crashes on a roadway and will most likely involve distracted drivers, no doubt because of the beautiful city of Dunedin, and there's so much to see and do there.
It's really sucking up.
So these are just a few of the random examples, but you can take that kind of data, and if you find that, so location-wise, you're having a lot of crashes on a particular road at a particular time, and you're like, oh, well, this particular bar gets out, and a lot of these are impaired. I'm not saying that's not what the data is saying, but you can have folks analyze that, and we can help out with that as well. And that can really help narrow down, if say with a hypothetical of law enforcement, if you're able to pinpoint something, and the law enforcement may be able to help out, with having what they call a wolf pack.
Yep.
To follow up on it. So if you'd like to receive similar crash data for your local government, just let me know, and we'll make sure we make that happen. So that was just sort of a little aside. From the earliest planning stages, Pinellas County and Forward Pinellas is involved in the safety in all stages, from project development and environment, or PD&E, to design and construction, and even after construction. So Forward Pinellas and its partners continue to integrate safety into all aspects of the planning process. This slide highlights some of the safety-related noteworthy accomplishments over the past 5 years. So Safe Streets for All, Vision Zero, Complete Streets, 34th Street, and BRT have had a lot of growth. Palm Harbor Roundabout has received a lot of supportive comments. And although Forward Pinellas is more of a monitoring agency than an implementing agency, we do work with and heavily depend on numerous partner agencies to integrate safety into every aspect of the planning process. Pinellas County also prioritizes which projects it would like for FDOT to fund, and safety is taken into consideration during that prioritization process. So FDOT funds projects that are coming from our priority list, and as I said, we try to make sure that safety is a part of that, even the prioritization process for those projects. So as FDOT on your agenda has its next item, the draft tentative work program. Many of the projects in that draft tentative work program do also relate in some way to improving safety. And with that, I can take any questions.
Okay, questions for Robert? Go ahead.
Robert, this is me letting you know that I like crash data for St. Petersburg.
So noted. I'll make sure we get something to you.
Anybody else? This side? Any questions? I was looking at your report. I guess it's page 18, which it talks about managing congestion. And I just wanted, it talks about the amount of money that's coming in from tourism, but that tourism causes traffic. Do you see what I'm looking at?
Oh, I do. I made sure that we added that because of your previous comments. I think there's still room to add more on.
Yes, what I'm going to suggest, not a complaint, just a suggestion, is, yeah, it's all fine and well to see the money that tourism brings in, but what we need to show is the number of cars every year over and above the cars that actually live here. Because I think that tells a much different story than the money tourism brings. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, the draft tentative work program. There is a letter of comments, and FDOT is here, and that's what we'll be voting on.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Everybody, Brian Hunter with the Florida Department of Transportation. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of our tentative work program. I'll start with a description of what the tentative work program is, how we prioritize and program projects. Then I'll go over some of the projects that we have programmed in Pinellas County, and then the schedule that we have and when MPO comments are due, and wrap it up and answer any questions that you may have at that time. So the work program is basically the FDOT's 5-year plan of all the work that we're going to do. It includes work we do, projects we partner with our modal partners like the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, as well as PSTA and Port St. Pete. And then our transportation projects all the way from planning through design, right-of-way, construction, and maintenance as well. So right now, we're working in our adopted work program, which is fiscal year 24 to 28. Soon, we'll be leaving fiscal year 24, going into fiscal year 25, so we need to add fiscal year 28 or 29, and that'll become the adopted work program, but currently 25 to 29 is the tentative work program. We'll take all those projects that are added in there, we'll present them to the legislature, and then once that's signed into law, and July 1st starts, it becomes our adopted work program. And there's a whole bunch of animations that say that exact same thing. So these are the strategies that we used on how we determine what projects. The first thing we do is we preserve our existing work program. So if costs went up on a project, that is the first thing we want to address and make sure that we program enough funds to finish that project. Then we like to fund the next phase of a project. So if we have right-of-way funded, then 2 years later, we'd like to fund construction on that, or the same thing with design and into right-of-way if it's needed. And then the third thing is we add new projects. Where those projects come from is there's 3 different areas for that as well. So we get the MPO priority list, the list of priority projects that you all give to us on an annual basis, that we go down that list, 1, 2, 3, and we fund them. There's a couple of fund types that the MPO are allocated to MPO priorities. So those we go 1, 2, 3. If we can fund that project that's eligible for that fund type, we will do it in the list, the order that you guys give it to us. Second is regional priorities. So we get those from the SCTPA and the TMA. And we fund different fund types on those priorities. And then we have FDOT and the strategic intermodal system priorities as well. So the projects that will be included in here are any new projects that were added. If we added a new funding phase to that project, if we deferred a project for one reason or another, I'll mention it. And then we have projects of interest too, just something I think that you guys have been asking for, and so we just want to make sure that we bring it back. If there's a project that was already funded and you don't see it today, that doesn't mean that it's no longer funded. It just means there hasn't been any changes to it. And so I didn't want to bring it to you guys, because if we did, I think we have 500 projects. We'd be here for a really long time going over them all. Now, there are about 30 that are in this presentation that we were able to add or update. And so I won't go over each of them, but if there's anything interesting or unique about that project, I will mention that. And if you have any questions on any of them at the end, please feel free to ask. So on the planning side, we have 2 projects. One is the funding that comes here to the MPO, that we added funding for that in fiscal year 29. It's already funded all the way through up until then. And then we have an I-175 action plan. This came from the downtown mobility study, and it was one of the requests from that. So we were able to shift some things around, line up design and construction on some projects I'll talk about a little bit later, and put this project into fiscal year 25. And if you notice on top of the title of the project, it says there's a little green, the logo for Forward Pinellas, and it says Forward Pinellas Priority. If you see that, that means it was on your priority list. On our transit, we have added some capital project in 29 for bus replacements. And then capacity, this one is the one you guys just talked about a couple minutes ago, 275, the managed lanes. This is the first phase that takes it down to 38th. And then other capacity projects, some of them we had to defer out of the right-of-way for those out of the work program just to accommodate some CISP prioritization statewide. And so these are the 3 that were moved out and on US 19. And then we deferred design on these 2, and there's a third one that we moved, or I think the third one was already in 26. This was just to better align design and construction. We had construction funded in fiscal year 28. So these were originally funded for design in 25. We moved that back to 26. And that way we were able to move that I-175 project in to 25. So it was really just a realignment to make it line up better with the construction schedule. And then these are complete streets projects. So this is the First Avenue Bikeway, 3rd and 4th Street, which will be the project that'll look at converting 3rd and 4th Street in downtown St. Pete into two-way traffic, and 78th Avenue urban corridor improvements along that design was added for 29. So more complete streets projects. We have the urban corridor improvements, which is what we consider complete streets. 590 Drew Street, we added some construction into that one in 26, and then 22nd Street, we deferred the construction on that one to 26 to make to accommodate a funding increase. And then bike ped improvements. We have quite a few of these, and we have Salt Creek Trail extension of a whole bunch of different little places on it. We have Pinellas County sidewalk gaps. We added design in 25 all the way through 29, and then we added construction in 25, 28, and 29. Those are ones we're working with the MPO to identify the locations. I think they've been using the high injury network as one of the prioritization process in there, but we're letting the MPO choose those places, and we're going to go in and fill those in. And then we have State Road 60 and 670 or 687 4th Street. The bottom one is going to tie into the Howard Franklin Bridge when that is constructed. And so we move the construction into 25 to align it with the completion of the Howard Franklin Bridge. Some more bike ped improvements. This one, a couple years, Rob will be able to come up here and say that more than 89% or 85% live within a certain distance of the Pinellas Trail, because we're going to add some more from San Martin to Macoma Boulevard. That'll be a lap project that the county will do. And then we have some sidewalks out on Gulf Boulevard. In 4 more bike ped improvements, including some neighborhood connections on the Pinellas Trail. Those we added design in 25 and then construction in 27. And here's 3 resurfacing projects that we have. Resurfacing, we don't do out to the full 5 years. We fund 3 years out on resurfacing because conditions can change so quickly on this type of stuff, so we don't try and get too far ahead of ourselves. 3 more resurfacing, same thing. And then technology, we are going to be doing phase 3 of our interstate wrong-way vehicle detection system. This will pretty much wrap it up, so all the ramps in Pinellas County will have wrong-way vehicle detection. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Madam Chair. On the previous slide, you talked about US 19 Tampa Road. So are we talking about both sides of US 19? Is that area from Alderman down to Tampa Road? Is that what we're talking about? We've got some real problems in there. I know you guys have tried to do some temporary stuff, but
yeah. So I'm not sure where Live Oak is, but I think that's correct. We sometimes choose obscure roads because we'll do an intersection and go a certain distance from there, and so we pick the nearest road. And
so Oak Street, is that north of Alderman or? Okay. Thank you.
I think I talked about this one. And so here's the total funding we plan on spending here in Pinellas County over the next 5 years, over $900 million. These are the different categories that they go in. And one thing to keep in mind is sometimes it's hard for the department to break out safety and bike ped improvements from our capacity and resurfacing projects. When we program a project, if over 50% of that project is resurfacing, it goes in that category. Even if we were spending 20, 30% of the project cost on bicycle and pedestrian improvements or safety improvements, it won't be captured in those categories. It'll be captured in the resurfacing. And that's just because of the way that we program and our financial management system works. But, this is what transit, $128 million, $22 million worth of capital, $57 million at the St. Pete Clearwater Airport to help those economic drivers. And then, you can see almost $100 million on complete streets and bike ped standalone projects. So,
If I could just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Commissioner Eggers, that's north of Nebraska, that Live Oak Street.
So to that point, because the problems go, really, it was all the way up to Alderman. And I think it went down almost to, but Curlew's going to be taken care of. Right. Between Curlew and Tampa Road will be taken care of with that construction.
I'll ask our asphalt engineer when he's got those, where they fall on his list and when we can anticipate, and make sure that we're taking care of that issue, and I'll follow up with you.
From Curlew to Klosterman, please.
Curlew to Klosterman. All right. So we held our online public hearing for the work program a couple of weeks ago, and public comments are due next week. MPO objections are due in about 2 weeks, and then next spring we will present the work program to the legislature and the Florida Transportation Commission. And then July 1st, we will be working on under the adopted work program. And just a little reminder, leave early, leave on time, or be a little late. It doesn't really matter. Get there safely. That's the thing that matters the most. So, and if you want to look at all the different projects, that is the website right there. And I'll be happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Questions? There is a letter that we're supposed to approve, so hopefully everybody got a chance to review that. Commissioner Driscoll, Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you, WIT, and also FDOT for adding the I-175 project. The benefits of this go far beyond traffic, considering where this is located, and the timing is much better aligned with the redevelopment that is in the works right now for that area. So just wanted to let you know, and it's actually in my city council district as well, so I wanted to thank you for really listening and getting that added. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
If, board members, if you don't mind, Brian, one thing I wanted to just, again, thank the department for programming our priorities. We really appreciate the partnership. The resurfacing projects that you mentioned, we are getting a lot of safety benefits out of those resurfacing projects, and sometimes it causes a little consternation. So what I would like to do is pledge to work closer with you and the department and the affected neighborhoods when we're doing a resurfacing project, because we're getting some emails here periodically about restricting left turns in certain locations and doing things like that. That's part of the resurfacing, but it's also a safety component. So maybe in our monthly coordination meetings, we can kind of go over whatever resurfacing projects are happening and about to go under construction, just to make sure we're getting ahead of what those issues are as they're coming up. It's hard to anticipate, but they're out there. And I wanted to bring to the board members' attention that the MPO Advisory Council and the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance have both kind of weighed in on the importance of resurfacing to include safety projects with them. And the issue we're hearing around the state is that the rising cost of asphalt is really putting a crimp in the department's ability to keep up with the resurfacing needs of the roadways. And the department may be looking to narrow down the scope of resurfacing projects to not include some of those safety components or extras with them. And I don't know if the board wants to take action on that, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that it's a concern we have that if that continues to happen, we're going to lose a lot of our opportunities, because they're already going out there and dealing with the roadway, dealing with the resurfacing. But if we're not addressing known safety issues, then we've missed an opportunity. And it's mainly just calling attention to that issue. It's out of your control, I know, but we'd like to continue to see if we can get those projects included.
So is that something you want us to include in our letter?
We could certainly add it to the letter if it's not already in there. I don't remember if it's in there.
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I can address that a little bit. So that is true. We are seeing rising costs like everybody else. Our dollars don't go as far as they used to. We have record work programs, and so we're very lucky to be a well-funded agency. But we are seeing where some of these scope items we need to pull out. And so we just ask that you guys work with us and understand that we're still trying to make sure that we have safe facilities out there. And once we get to the point where we can go out and do those as standalone projects, we're going to start looking at that option as an option. So if we do pull something out, we're keeping it on our radar. It's not like we're just saying never to be touched or until that road gets resurfaced again. We'll, at some point in the near future, try to get out there and take care of those things.
Okay, that's helpful.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, just back to the resurfacing part, since we're talking about it. Have you all determined what the major problems of the preliminarily, the breakdown of the roads that we're seeing on especially on US 19, way before their due date? Is there an issue with technology, an issue with product, is it just isolated to certain spots because the mix wasn't right? Is there any? It really
It's outside of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So, but Justin may have an answer on that one.
It does talk to spreading the dollar a little bit better.
Yeah, so that issue is widespread throughout the state. It was a polymer issue. So without getting too deep into the weeds, we have different friction courses. Some of them are open, some are closed course, which literally, I'm trying to think, I always explain it to my mom when she sees the rocks on top of the asphalt, and sometimes you see them loose. FC5 is an open course. It's made for higher speed facilities, and what's happened is the FC5 has been breaking down early due to the polymer that was used. And how we've addressed this is two ways. One, there's a different binder that we use now when we use FC5, but also we're going to a different course like a FC 12.5, which is a slightly finer aggregate that's actually having better results. And then we're also looking at areas like intersections where we see a lot of breakdown, looking at going to concrete a lot more in those situations just because of the friction. But that's the big thing. But yeah, FC5, it's an issue all across the state. I can say that's the number one complaint we get for pavement is windshield chips, things of that nature from the FC5.
All right, thank you.
And I believe the research you're talking about were Klosterman, that was on there, right? And it's August 2025, the 3R?
The what? I'm sorry.
Resurfacing that includes Klosterman, that's August of 2025. It lets, yeah, okay.
I think that's what we,
yeah.
Oh, it does,
Okay.
all the way up there.
Just making sure, yeah, includes Klosterman.
Thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, anything else from, yes, sir?
Actually, I wanted to mention something to Whit. Our city staff has had some questions about, or maybe not questions, but concerns about like the amount of funding that's come through for some things recently. Have you talked to them about that at all?
Yes.
Okay, I know there was two projects. One was 28th Street North, bicycle improvements, which we've talked about. The other one was our Complete Streets program from last year. Do you have anything you can speak to on that?
Yes, and Chelsea and Cheryl have been in coordination at a staff level. So the issue that the St. Pete has raised is that projects that we've prioritized and have allocated funding toward, they're seeing the same issue that FDOT is seeing, rising costs, and it's moving those projects to where you don't have enough money to complete the project. And so I think what the staff was requesting that we do to modify the letter would be to ask the department to complete the funding on existing projects that are already established priorities of Ford Pinellas before we move to new projects, consistent with the department's programming responsibility. So that's not currently in the letter. If you would like us to add that to the letter, then we would ask the board to direct us to do so.
Okay, yeah, and I'd like to see that. I don't want to make it just about St. Pete. I'm sure everywhere is having this issue right now, but you know, there's a couple of projects that have been important to me that are, I don't know if they're in jeopardy, but they're not in a good position right now, and I'd hate to see that happen to anyone.
Well, I'll respond that the department's been good about helping us with that. We just had the same issue on State Road 580, Skinner Boulevard in Dunedin, and the department came up with carbon reduction program funds to close a $1.3 million gap in that project that was just due to rising costs. And they're able to program carbon reduction funds because we're building two roundabouts there instead of traditional traffic signals. So it's eligible for that. You know, I think what we would say is ask the department to look at all funding sources and not necessarily rob Peter to pay Paul, but if there was a way to make existing projects whole first before we add a new project to work program.
Okay, and I mean, what's your recommendation? You feel like it's
I'm fine with that recommendation. I think at a staff level, we're okay. What we would ask is a motion and board direction to include it in
Yeah.
the letter. When you approve the letter, if you could make that part of the motion.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody else has any feedback on that, or.
Well, I think it's a good addition. I'm just going to tell you that because, again, we just went through that. We're a partner with FDOT, so we're funding part of the project that they're working on for us. But with the huge amount of increased price just for the product that they're using or whatever, all the different pieces of it would have been on us, and it was killing us to do it. It was really killing us, especially given the fact we had started talking about this project, I don't know, while Dave was still our mayor. I think we were looking at Skinner.
Yeah.
Weren't we? We're looking at Skinner and wanting to do things with it. So, I mean, it's been going on a long time. So, if everybody's okay, I think we should add it to the language. Everybody okay with that? I'm seeing nods. Okay, so can I have, yes, sir.
I can say that when we get those price increases, we do try and address them through the work program. The problem is usually when it's an inner year where we've already expended all of our funds for that year. And so we're just kind of stuck sometimes, and we don't want to push projects out. So we try and work with the city to either, reduce scope or see if they can come up with whatever the shortfall is. But we understand the concerns, and we always try and make sure that we keep those projects whole and keep them moving forward. Construction is really our #1 priority. If funding is the hurdle that keeps us from getting to construction, that's a problem for us. And so we always try and make sure we keep them whole.
I appreciate that. That's kind of what I expected. So, that was why I was like, is the recommendation to put it in the letter? I think, sort of for us to show that that's one of our concerns, I think is fine. Yeah. But I really do appreciate that and understand that that's what y'all do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to have is a motion to approve the letter with the addition of the language that Whit suggested.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay?
Second, then.
I'll give it to the two St. Pete folks. There you go. All right, any other final comments on any of that? Any public input?
No,
All right.
Madam Chair, there's no citizens wishing to be heard on this item.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Housing Action Plan update?
As Linda is coming up here, just a reminder that we've been designated as the convening body for the continuing updates on the Housing Action Plan. So about every other meeting, we will provide a little short update. So Linda, take it away.
Thank you. Okay, so as a reminder, or for those watching who might not be familiar, the Housing Action Plan was created to implement the Advantage Pinellas Housing Compact, which is a shared commitment to combine housing resources and expertise across Pinellas County to make it easier to create and preserve affordable housing, coordinated with planning for jobs, transit, and other important community resources. This effort is being led by Pinellas County and Forward Pinellas staff, along with 7 municipal partners who have signed the compact thus far. We've created a tactical team with staff from those local governments and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council to provide input and guidance throughout this effort. And the Housing Action Plan creates a work plan to implement each goal of the Housing Compact, including a range of actions over 1, 3, and 10-year timeframes. In April of this year, as Whit said, yourselves and the Countywide Planning Authority jointly designated this board as the ongoing forum for coordinating implementation. And in July, you took the first step of formally approving the plan itself. And just to close the circle, we are going back out to our compact partner communities to request their formal endorsement of both the plan and the Forward Pinellas role. St. Petersburg and Clearwater have already given that endorsement, and we're working with the others to get that on their agendas. And we've begun moving into a number of these shorter-term 1 to 3 year implementation projects. To start, we are working with Pinellas County Marketing and Communications to begin developing a coordinated media strategy to bring positive attention to the need for affordable housing and to combat the stigma that it often has. And this will be done hand in hand with our local government partners, and we'll tie it into other local educational campaigns like St. Pete's Housing Opportunities and Largo's Housing for All efforts. This is going to be an ongoing process, but our goal is to implement the first phase in the first quarter of 2024. And we'll bring you more information and ask for your direction as that starts to take shape. The next action that's underway is the creation of mapping and analysis tools to help with decision-making for where it's best to locate affordable housing and higher densities generally. We need to make sure that as much as possible we're putting housing in places where there's adequate bus transportation, access to grocery stores and medical care, safe walking and biking, and so forth. And that we're not putting it into areas that are most vulnerable to flooding. So we're working on developing tools to help identify all those factors. We've created one tool already to track developments that are proposed and will eventually be built under the Live Local Act. Our expected completion date for this project is the first quarter of next year. But again, this will be an ongoing effort of coordinating with local governments to make sure we keep that data current. We are also developing countywide affordable housing targets. The Pinellas County Housing and Community Development Department is overseeing this study. And this will help us identify where we have the greatest need for creating and preserving affordable housing units, what income sectors we need to target, and where we can best apply the resources that we have. And that's expected to be complete in the second quarter of 2024. Lastly, we're getting ready to kick off a project to create an affordable housing regulatory toolkit. Forward Pinellas staff will oversee that effort, and it will create a menu of regulatory strategies, incentives, and design standards that any local government can use, with the goal of fostering greater regulatory consistency countywide, because it's easier for affordable housing developers when they don't have to navigate a completely new system for each community. Once again, that will be done in partnership with local governments. They will have to take action to adopt these model regulations. It's not anything that we would be imposing on anyone. But we also want to learn from local governments, bringing in their expertise of what housing techniques are already working at the local level and allowing us to share those best practices countywide. And we're still scoping this project, but our target is the third quarter of next year. So again, this is the first bi-monthly update on implementation of the Housing Action Plan. What I'd like to do now is to ask the board if you have any input on what you would like to see with these updates. For example, we can invite our partner communities to report on their local affordable housing efforts, and we can invite stakeholders from the development and nonprofit sectors to talk about challenges and potential solutions. But we'd like to know what kind of information would be most valuable to you.
Sorry, thank you, Linda. Anybody have some things they want to add to? Go ahead, Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, just some monitoring the development of accessory dwelling unit. As someone said, that if we could do more of that, we might solve a lot of the housing shortage. I don't know about those numbers and how that really relates, but how we can allow for that, provide flexibility, but yet not increase the short-term rentals. Is there a way that we can control that not becoming Airbnb through the term that they can rent? So we can have it more than just related people, but non-related, but longer-term leases. So how do we put that in play, and then how do we monitor it? That to me seems to be the most difficult part, is the monitoring of it. So I'd like to just follow that as much as we can.
I appreciate that. That's definitely an issue that's on our radar as well.
Thank you.
It's a huge issue in Dunedin that we've really grappled with. So anything I think you can do to provide a guideline. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that's the single number one biggest complaint I get from residents is, what are you going to do about the short-term rental that's trashing my neighborhood? But one thing I would like to see, and something that we talked about at a recent commission meeting, is as we're approving, greenlighting new affordable housing projects, which ones that were approved 20 or 30 years ago are going to be expiring in their affordability? So are we just kind of treading water. We're approving new, but then we've got others that are expiring. So kind of understanding what that inventory looks like and what maybe we need to do to continue the affordability of those units as well.
It's another very important issue.
Anyone else on this side? Yes.
In your discussion of taking a look at income brackets for affordability, are you also considering senior housing insecurity? As a member of the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council, our helpline is ringing off the hook from seniors who are, losing their homes. Are you considering that and taking a look at that as a category?
That is a good suggestion. We think mainly in terms of income brackets, but you're right that a senior household has different needs from a family or a single person, and that's definitely something that we can take a look at.
So will you be looking at that?
We can, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'd just like to see data. Can you give us a snapshot periodically of the housing units available, projected housing unit growth, and vacancy rates, things like that?
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Just add one thing to that as well, and construction information as well. Yeah, and I'd also wanted to say to Commissioner Scott's point, the things terming out of their affordable period, that's incredibly important. Great point there.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next item is the appointments to the TMA Leadership Group, the SCTPA, and the MPOAC. There's a strategy, I think, that Whit would like us to possibly take, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Sure, thank you. I'll be brief on this one. For the TMA Leadership Group and the SCTPA, those meetings tend to be on the same day. The TMA Leadership Group meets 4 times a year, and the SCTPA meets twice a year after the TMA. And so this December 1st is a good example of that. We'll have the TMA Leadership Group, and then we'll have the SCTPA. So it's always good and helpful to have one of the 3 members of the TMA Leadership Group also be, one of those be the SCTPA person. And Gina Driscoll is currently serving as both TMA and SCTPA, along with Commissioner Eggers and Commissioner Long as the 2 TMA representatives. And a reminder that everybody on this board is welcome to attend any of those meetings, and you can all serve as a TMA or SCTPA representative if you happen to be there and we happen to have an absence, because I joke, but I never want to tell Commissioner Long she can't vote again. And we had one situation where she wasn't appointed, but she was at the meeting, and one of our board members couldn't make it, and then we didn't have that provision in place. So now we have that provision in place that any one of you who happen to be there, and we need a third, you can vote. But my recommendation would be, since we're kind of in a key point of advancing this discussion about the regional MPO, is that we keep the TMA and SCTPA membership the same, as long as those folks continue to want to serve. Again, with the recognition that you all are invited and any of you could fill that role if need be. The other item is for the MPOAC, and that's a little trickier because the MPOAC requires travel, typically to Orlando and then once a year somewhere else. We went to Auburndale recently for the SunTrax facility. And Commissioner Eggers, you might have been interested in going to the DOT maintenance facility up in Gainesville, the materials lab, because they would have answered all your questions about the materials. So usually there's like 1 trip like that a year, but that's 4 trips a year to Orlando, a minimum. And those meetings tend to fall on Thursday. I know at the last meeting we added Councilmember or Commissioner Buckman to the MPOAC as an alternate to Commissioner Eggers, but I think Councilmember Floyd is also an alternate, and you probably can't ever attend on a Thursday.
No, yeah, it was funny because the one meeting I did attend and I enjoyed was the meeting that they moved the future meetings from Wednesdays to Thursdays, and
Yeah.
St. Pete City Council always meets
Right.
on Thursdays, so yeah, I can't.
So I know Councilor Burke has expressed an interest in serving on the MPOAC. So my thought would be for the board to consider adding you as an alternate. And again, that's up to whether Commissioner Eggers wants to remain as the primary. So that's a lot, but that was my staff context.
Okay, so let me go back to TMA and the SCP, because SCTPA, you want those to be the same person, and you would like those to, at least for now, well, I mean.
It's just a staff recommendation.
Right, that we remain consistent, because we're going through a lot of changes that people have gone through, and to keep those same folks.
Right.
Okay, and can you just tell me the names of those folks?
So that would be Commissioner Long, Commissioner Eggers, and Councilmember Gina Driscoll. And she is also the dual SCTPA representative.
Right. Okay, so for those two items, can I have a motion and a second to continue those on? David and Brian, is there any public input? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then for the MPOAC, Dave, you're still interested in doing that, the October thing?
That's fine.
Or the Orlando thing, I meant to say.
If any of them would prefer that one, I would be willing to be an alternate there if need be. Sometimes.
Well, you're interested in being an alternate, right? And you can't do it anymore. So why don't,
I like the ease-in plan, so
Yeah.
as you can stay, and I'll ease
okay.
in as the alternate.
So then again, can I have a motion and a second to support this young man as being our alternate, and Dave continuing on representing us?
Along with Buckman.
Yes, along with Mr. Buckman. Okay. All right, Brian and Dave. All right, any public input? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations and thank you to our fine folks that are willing to represent us around the region. Okay. We've got the director's report. Do you have anything under Spotlight?
I'll go real quick on all these.
Okay, good.
And I'll just roll right in. Spotlight update, just wanted to let you know that we did receive notice from FDOT that we were awarded a $655,000 service development grant for waterborne transportation. You all directed us to apply for that grant with PSTA. PSTA applied for the grant, so the grant will flow through PSTA. PSTA will likely have to procure an operator. So we're going to have to go through a procurement. We are in the process of having meetings with Pinellas County staff, Visit St. Pete Clearwater staff. We have meetings scheduled with City of Clearwater and with City of Dunedin. I think they're scheduled. If not, they're about to be scheduled. And just to kind of lay out the terms of the grant and figure out where our local match is coming from. So this is a 50% local match. So we've got to match the $655,000. It is over a 3-year period. Service development grants are intended to be kind of a pilot to test out how it's working and can it be sustained and is it doing what it's supposed to do. The grant application was for the Clearwater, Dunedin, Clearwater Beach triangle. It doesn't mean that we can't adapt that or adjust that a little bit if we wanted to. I know that there's been some discussion and interest with Indian Rocks Beach. There's been some discussion and interest with Honeymoon Island. And so we just need to kind of figure out exactly what the game plan is. Those funds are not available until FY25, so it would be July 1st. So we've got some time to figure out some of those details.
July 1st of 24.
July 1st of 24.
Yes.
That's right, FY25. We have kind of continued to work through that. And I don't have a whole lot to say about that right now, other than what the Visit St. Pete Clearwater told us is that if we were going to use and make a request for tourist development tax dollars to be part of that local match, then we would have to brand this service and really emblazon this service as a tourist-oriented service. We would have to really draw that linkage very strongly in that. And I'm not sure that's a huge concern, but there's a little bit of a fine line that we're navigating because the grant is for public transportation, not for tourism. So we have to kind of figure out how to navigate that a little bit. But I think that was positive overall. And again, we're just figuring out where that local match is going to come from.
Question.
Yes.
So you're distinguishing tourism from transportation when, in fact, tourists don't just do it for fun, they do it to get from point A
They're getting to
point
a
B.
destination, right?
So it's not just for tourism.
It's not-
In the traditional sense of doing it.
I think what DOT would probably reject would be if we wanted to have an excursion trip that went, out into the Gulf and looped around and came back. That's not transportation. Right.
I think it's very similar to Jolly Trolley. Matter of fact, it's almost the same exact thing.
Yeah. And so they funded the Jolly Trolley with a service development grant initially. So just wanted to give you that update. The second thing I'd like to say is that if you have not met the new Largo City Manager, and I know you have, just want to sing his praises. He comes from Cincinnati by way of Columbus and has a good planning background. Worked on the Cincinnati streetcar project, worked on some other projects. His first comment to me is, do we have a law against protected bike lanes in Pinellas County? And I said, no, we don't. I think that was just a little bit of sarcasm on his point, but he's really into safe bicycling. He's really into housing, transit-oriented development, and electric vehicles. And so I think there's some things that we can partner on. And I look forward to working with him. So if you haven't had a chance to meet John Kerp, I encourage you to do so. And then finally, I wanted to update the board that in the spring, we are going to be bringing the Department of Transportation to our meeting, and we are planning outreach with the business community in the Palm Harbor and Tarpon Springs area. There'll be separate meetings, and with residents to talk about the future of US 19 North. We've had interchanges in our long-range plan for many, many years for US 19 in that area. That's gotten some pushback from the Palm Harbor business community who worry about loss of visibility and loss of access. We've also had some concerns expressed from Tarpon Springs previously, so we've taken the overpass out at Tarpon Avenue and US 19. There may be a different mindset now, I don't know. So in the spring of next year, we're going to be planning one-on-one meetings with the elected officials. We'll also be planning a meeting with the commissions, and then we will also have neighborhood and local business meetings as well to talk about some of the options. And FDOT has told us that the innovative intersections out there probably aren't workable, that we'll need to do some sort of grade separation. And they're looking at a concept for a viaduct, which would be basically bridging that area, or doing it as they've done further to the south. Those are a couple of options.
Keystone, Tarpon Springs Road?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Alderman, Klosterman, Tarpon, that area. North of Tampa. So Tampa, I think we've got figured out. So those discussions we'll have first with the board, and then we'll go out to the community, and that'll be sometime in the spring. We don't have specific dates on that. But if you have questions about that, and Commissioner Eggers, it's kind of to your point, we do take very seriously the importance of having those small group meetings and going out and meeting with the community and not expecting people to come to these meetings for that.
And there's obviously a lot of discussion going on East Lake Road, so not that they're one and the same, but there is a lot of.
There is. And then we're having conversations with Pasco County about a future express bus from Pasco into the Gateway area, and I think that ought to be incorporated into whatever plans we're looking at for US 19. The next item, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, is I'll just roll into legislative update. The session begins on January 9th. There's a special session going on right now. One good bit of news is there was, and Linda will correct me if I say anything wrong, but there was a bill that's been approved by both houses in the current special session that would change Senate Bill 250 from last session to take Pinellas out of the group of counties within 100 miles of landfall of Hurricane Ian who could not propose any burdensome regulations. And that was a sort of a weird definition that's hard to nail down. So we are no longer, or if it's signed into law, we would no longer be in that. And that would allow a number of our planning initiatives to go forward, like even amending your comprehensive plan. A lot of local governments were saying, hold on, we can't do that because that might be a burden to somebody. So this really gives us the ability to move forward on a number of things. The other couple of bills that I'll just mention, one, Senator Hooper has again filed an industry bill, I think it's 266 is the number, that would place a cap on the percentage of state transportation trust funds that go to public transit projects. And maybe more of a concern to me is if you don't want to be subject to that cap, you need a supermajority vote of your county commission. And my concern is that we are already at the MPO the oversight body of public transit projects, because if they don't get prioritized, they don't get state transportation dollars. So we are already in that boat, and I think it just unnecessarily pits city versus county in some local governments where the transit operator is not the county commission. Where it is the county commission, that probably makes sense. So you've authorized me to send letters outlining our questions or concerns about that bill in the last 2 sessions where it failed. And my concern on the cap, again, is that we already have a minimum spend of 15% on public transportation. The cap would be 20%. So that's only a 5% increment statewide. And both Miami-Dade and Broward have sales taxes in place for transit, and they are both advancing multi-million-dollar light rail, commuter rail, and bus rapid transit projects. And I think it's going to take all the money statewide, and you'll be up against that cap in no time. And that will leave crumbs for the rest of the state. So that was the concern I had in previous years, and the board authorized us to send a letter. I would ask for the same authorization to outline those concerns, not to advocate or express disappointment or anything like that, but just to say, how could we address these concerns? And again, the only way to get out of that cap is to get a supermajority vote of the county commission. Again, kind of raising the bar, one more roadblock for transit.
So can we give what consensus direction? I'm just looking at nodding heads.
And I'll be glad to
Go
make
ahead and do
sure
that
you all
letter.
see the letter before we send it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
What about your bright line?
And again, if you haven't seen the legislation that Linda Cheney has filed about PSTA, please take a look at that. That would also potentially limit the ability to do any lane repurposings anywhere in the state. And we've got, or not state, in Pinellas County. And we've got a few that are in the works that are funded for construction. And they're not necessarily for transit, but it could have the same effect. The Brightline Tour. On a happy note, I want to let you know that I did travel with the Tampa Bay Partnership on Monday, flew down to Miami. Early Monday morning, we met the mayor of Miami-Dade County and others in Miami-Dade, and we had a tour of the Miami-Dade station. Then we got on the Brightline train and we traveled to West Palm, where we met the mayor of West Palm. And then we got out and we walked around and looked at the transit-oriented development that is happening in West Palm. And then we traveled on to Orlando, where we toured the station there. The train got up to speeds of 125 miles an hour, and you did not notice it. You did not feel it. And if you've ever been on Amtrak, you felt the rocking and wobbling, and that was not the case. It was very smooth. It is not public transportation. It is private transportation. It is priced accordingly. It's not for everybody. A one-way trip, I believe, is $79 in coach class between Orlando and Miami. But they have worked out like a plan for a family of 4 would be $50 per person. So they've looked at ways to lower that, but it is competitive. It's competing with airlines more than it is anything else. The West Palm station had a significant amount of new construction around that station. The first Class A office building they've had in 25 years. And Brightline, their parent company, built that building, or at least participated in the development. They are primarily a development company. And I was with about 30 people from the Tampa Bay area, the Tampa Bay EDC, the Tampa Bay Chamber, the mayor and former mayor of Tampa, several county commissioners and city council members. And the Tampa Bay Partnership has reached out to the business community here in Pinellas, and they are looking to schedule another trip with Pinellas leaders, and I'm sure many of you will be invited if you're interested in doing that. I encourage it, whether you go on that trip or you do it on your own. It's really fascinating. And there's a lot of excitement about bringing Brightline to Tampa. My understanding is they're looking at the Hillsborough County Community College campus in Ybor City as a potential destination. And that will be a game changer to be able to avoid I-4 and be able to get to Orlando in 45 minutes to an hour, potentially. And then the question that is always asked of me is, how is Pinellas preparing for the connection to Brightline? And what does that look like? And so we talked a little bit previously about maybe express bus in the first part once the Howard Franklin Bridge is open. We'll have to see from there how it goes, but I think there's a lot of interest in making sure that visitors to our region can easily access Pinellas County just as well. Are there any questions about that? All right.
I don't see any.
It's getting to be
Anything
about
else?
3:30, I can tell.
Yeah.
No, that's all I had on that. Just a reminder that we don't have a December board meeting, but we are planning a holiday get-together, a thank you lunch on December 13th at 12:30 at Alfano's, courtesy of Chair Long. So I encourage you to please attend, and it's going to be a social. We're not going to do business at that meeting. It's not going to be a meeting. It's going to be just a business lunch.
And I presume that people need to RSVP to somebody?
It should have been on
Maybe
your
to Tina.
calendars.
Okay, so everybody
Yeah.
needs to RSVP to Tina, and Tina, you'll send out a follow-up maybe a week in advance or something?
Yep.
Okay.
I was just sitting here thinking that I haven't heard back from a whole lot of folks, so I need a reminder out, because I do need to get numbers to Commissioner Long.
Sure. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Any informational items you guys feel like we need to know? All right, well, thank you all. We are adjourned.